Bitcoin is at a crucial level in its long-term price history. This is a level that will either make or break a long-term bull market coming sooner rather than later. What does this mean? This means that all the whales are coming out and trying to manipulate the market for their own personal gain. Now, I did recently talk about this in my previous video, where I talked about the possibility of manipulators coming in order to try to take advantage of the current market conditions. Right now in Bitcoin, as I said before, we're at a very crucial level, yet almost no one is actively trading on the market. This means that there's a very low amount of volume, leaving a lot of space for these whales to come in and try to create false breakouts and fake moves in order to then profit off of the people who are going to jump in on those moves. And just recently we saw one of these moves. If you look at this current move in the market, you can see that we had an absolute parabolic breakout all the way up to almost $11,000. And then in just a matter of hours, we had a dump that was over 6% in size, reverting a lot of the gains that this breakout had created. And although there are people saying that this was news related, I'm going to argue against that in this video. However, before I get into this video, make sure to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this. I also highly recommend you check out my video on AutoMoon, which is a new service that I am launching. If you are interested in automated trading, I know that this will be the solution for you, so I highly recommend you check that out. I'd also like to say that I'm not a financial advisor, so I recommend you do your own research before entering in any positions. Now, let's get back to talking about this move. As I said before in my previous video, I talked about how the current market conditions are perfect for manipulation. So let's zoom out on the chart here and talk about why these levels are so perfect. So as I said before, the current levels that we're at in Bitcoin are levels that will determine the next couple years of trading. This is going to be a level where we are either going to break out of this wedge upwards with a very large amount of volume getting injected back into the market, creating another bull market as we get into the end of 2019. This is an option where we could possibly see the price go above $20,000 in 2020 and create another bull market. However, there is another option for this wedge. If we look at the historical price history, after a large pump such as the one we saw in 2017 up to $20,000, a lot of the time after we hit the low and then make a recovery, we will then see the price go into one of these consolidation levels and then go even lower below its initial low. So that means that right now we have two very, very extreme opportunities, two very, very extreme possibilities in the market that could happen depending on which way this wedge breaks out. If we break out above this wedge, we're likely going to $20,000. If we break out below this wedge, we could possibly go below the $3,000 level that many people have been calling the bottom. So what does that mean? That means that a lot of people are going to look to try to manipulate this price action and try to make it favorable for themselves. Now, if we look at the move today and we look at different resistance points that are currently on the chart, you can see that this level that we broke out of today was actually a key resistance on the long-term price trend. Here you can see on the top of the wedge, the resistance point, if you don't look at this little spike here, was actually at the level that we broke out of today. So what happened is a lot of people saw this, especially after this parabolic move that we saw recently, all the way up to almost to $11,000. A lot of people saw this move and thought that from here, we would break the second resistance point and then officially be out of the wedge. A lot of people were waiting for an $11,000 confirmation point in order to finally be broken out of the wedge. And whenever people saw this $10,900 level, they thought that today was the day that we would finally break out of this resistance point and then break out of this second resistance point and confirm that we were going into a bull market. However, going back to the manipulation, what a lot of people didn't realize is that this is exactly what a lot of these whales wanted to do. Now, let me explain what I think happened with this move. First, I want to say that a lot of people associated this move with news. And I think, honestly, that's exactly what the whales wanted to happen. Now, if you didn't know, today the Fed made some comments on cryptocurrency. So there was a speech with Federal Reserve Chairman Powell where he made some comments about cryptocurrency in a slightly negative light. Now, let me tell you something about that. In my opinion, that is not news at all. In my opinion, the Fed has always had a negative view on cryptocurrency, as it quite literally makes them obsolete. If everyone used Bitcoin, then there would be no need for the Federal Reserve or the central bank. And so obviously, I think that there is some bias when coming from the Fed chairman against cryptocurrency. So already, I think that they have a bias against cryptocurrency, and personally, I'm not surprised that they have a negative viewpoint on cryptocurrency, and I also feel like that they have expressed this in the past. However, what happened today is he made some, in my opinion, fairly normal comments about cryptocurrency where he expresses his concern and where he says, I'm not sure what's going to happen in the future for cryptocurrency. In my opinion, it's something that a Fed chairman should say because obviously he wants to protect the US citizens, and the whole thing in the US, especially with investing, is that they don't want to subject the citizens to risky investments. And so, in my opinion, it's completely normal what he said today. However, traders took advantage of this opportunity. What happened is, and I'm not sure whether this was because of manipulation or natural market movement, is the market was about to make a breakout. As I stated before, we were just breaking above this initial resistance line. And in my opinion, many people were hoping for an $11,000 breakout today. However, right as this Fed news came out, what I think happened is a lot of manipulators took advantage of this. Now, what does this mean? Does this mean that manipulators were entirely at fault for this move? No. What I think happened is manipulators were the ones that triggered this move. This news article, this little news thing that came out, and then the manipulators made a reaction in Bitcoin. So maybe they just made, this initial little 1% move on Bitcoin to go back below this resistance level. And then what happened is that caused other people to FUD, right? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt, to reactively sell, assuming that the rest of the market would have the same reaction. So pretty much the manipulation that happened today, in my opinion, is the market just happened to break out. It just happened to go above this very, very key level. Obviously, I'm not sure if that was manipulation or natural market movement. However, this one key article came out about the Fed saying something bad about Bitcoin, which in my opinion is not surprising at all. Manipulators took advantage of this, caused the price to go down a little bit, and then the rest of the market followed suit and made the price crash around 6%. And so going back to what I was talking about at the beginning of this video, this is exactly what I think we're going to see at this price point. I warned people in my previous video that there would be a lot of false breakouts at this level, and that's explicitly because of how low a volume we have right now. In my opinion, it is fairly easy for whales to manipulate the price 1% in order to cause such a large move. Although there's not that much volume in the market, a lot of people are waiting on the sidelines. Right now, there aren't that many people actively trading this little consolidation, and whales know that. Whales know that people aren't actively in the market. However, the second they can make some of these false breakouts, people start to jump in, right? Everyone started buying at this level saying that there was going to be a breakout, and that was a key opportunity. That was a liquidity pool that these manipulators were looking for in order to finally take their profit and cause this correction to go back down into the wedge and go back into the consolidation that we have been in for the past couple of months. Now, speaking of manipulation, there is one other major news article that I also think is definitely manipulating the market, and that is the Bakkt launch. Now, many people have been talking about this as something that is going to revolutionize cryptocurrency and, cause the price to go up. And honestly, these news articles, in my opinion, are always the exact same. This reminds me exactly of back in 2017, whenever everyone was saying that the CBOE futures would cause Bitcoin to skyrocket and it would increase institutional, investing into the space and blah, blah, blah. However, honestly, long term, it really doesn't do that much. And although it might help a little bit with adoption, it just doesn't cause the price to moon. It's not something that's going to, cause the price to spike all the way to $1 million. That's not what these listings mean. And honestly, back in 2017, it's actually one of the main factors for the Bitcoin price falling. And I think this is the exact same thing all over again. Bakkt is just opening Bitcoin futures, which means that more people can come into the market and try to short it, and that could just cause the price to go even lower. So really, these different exchanges getting Bitcoin onto their platforms, in my opinion, really doesn't mean anything for the long-term price history of Bitcoin. It just means that more traders are going to be in the market, which I guess is good for adoption, but in my opinion, do I think I'm bullish because of Bakkt, listing Bitcoin? No. If anything, it makes me a little bit bearish because now there are going to be a bunch of people like this who are just blindly buying into the market, hoping that it goes up because of this news. And then we have these manipulators just trying to crash it back down. So my outlook on this news is it means absolutely nothing, and it's just another thing that's being overly publicized so that people can get excited about it and then hopefully FOMO back into the market. But anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hopefully you have learned something new that is happening in the cryptocurrency space. Hopefully you now have a new trading plan on what you're going to do for Bitcoin and what you're going to look out for. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you in the next one.